Ashley Newman. Apologize. Everybody has such stellar bios. I want to make sure that you get what everybody's background is. Very, very brief. I'll let her introduce herself, but she is a former educator on sexual health topics and has some great concerns about the curriculum. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm also a mom. I've got 2 teenagers in the public school system, and we homeschooled, charter schooled, and now they're in public school. So I've seen kind of the mess that is public school, but I also, when this law first came out, I actually supported it. I actually saw the need for it because I had done the research, because I'd been working with at-risk teens, and I saw and I understood based on the CDC, 1 in 4 of our young people has an STD. 1 in 4 teenagers, teen to 25, has an STD. And sex ed has changed a lot since the 80s when we had it, and mainly because there are over 30 different STDs that our kids can get. Just within one, HPV, there's over 130 strains of it. So I absolutely support our kids getting this information, and your average parent can't research the CDC's website for hours and hours upon end. I see a reason why they would want this to be in schools, but sadly our public schools are some of the worst in the nation. If they can't teach our children to read and to add, what on earth makes us think that they can teach them basic biology? And then when they ignore basic, obvious biology, what do we do then? What do we do when our schools ignore basic biology? So when I read the law, I picked out the important components of it, and you know, with any law, they pass it, and then you got to find out what's in it, and then you got to find out how the ACLU interprets it, and it could be completely different than the author's original intent. But as parents, tax-paying parents, you absolutely have every right to go into your school boards, demand from your principals, demand from your teachers to see exactly what your child will see. You have every legal right to demand to see absolutely everything that your child should be seeing. These are 2 things you can do very simply to find out if your school's sex ed curriculum is garbage or if it might be potentially useful for your child. The first, and with the red flag that I saw about 8 years ago, I brought this to the attention of the most commonly used sex ed curriculum in the state of California, the Positive Prevention Plus curriculum. If you look on the CDE's website, that's who they funnel schools to get. Most schools have that specific curriculum. What I noticed were 2, what I feel are errors. The first is the #1 most important step in proper condom usage is also the most often missed step in proper condom usage. It may sound obvious, but that is put it on before any sexual contact. That is missing. It says check the expiration date, it says wash your hands, it says make eye contact with your partner, but it never mentions what the child sees, never says put that sucker on before any contact. That means before any sexual contact, including oral sex. Thanks to the porn industry, which is on all our children's smartphones, if you would have asked parents 30 years ago, what do you think about giving every child access to the most graphic porn you can't even imagine, there would probably be a riot 30 years ago. Now we stand in line to give our 10-year-olds an iPhone. And if you think that your filters are keeping that child from seeing it, you're sadly mistaken. All their buddy needs to do is say, look at this funny video, and bam, your child can never unsee that. Never, ever unsee that, right? Right. So the 2 most common steps, well, first most common step, put it on before any contact. Thanks to porn, oral sex is kissing. I have girls say he won't let me be his girlfriend unless I give him this, and this sexually. Then I can walk around campus holding his hand and I can tag him as being my boyfriend on social media. That is not okay. That is not okay. And our boys, they're asking to be done similar things to them, right? So when it comes to biology, basic biology and sexuality and how you identify, biology doesn't care. These germs just spread. So it doesn't matter the combination. Boy, boy, girl, girl, boy. It doesn't matter the gender. It doesn't matter how they identify. These diseases and viruses just spread. So you've got to have that common knowledge. They have to understand, oh, wow, that thing needs to be on that thing before I put that thing in this thing. Or another thing or another thing, right? Because these bodies, open sores are open doors and open holes are open doors for these diseases to enter into the body, and these children need to understand that. The curriculum does not cover that in that obvious nature. The other error in a lot of this sex ed presentation is they cover STDs, like HIV and STDs are all together. These diseases spread very differently, specifically herpes and HPV. They spread through skin-to-skin contact. Half of us right here have the herpes simplex 1 virus, and about 1 in 4 or 5 Americans have the herpes simplex 2 virus, right? So these diseases, if there is an itty-bitty little herpes sore or HPV wart outside of where that condom covers, how is that condom going to offer any protection whatsoever? It can't. And if you think about basic anatomy, the condom only covers a small portion. So that means everything else is very easy for HPV and herpes to transmit. On the slide that's in many of these curriculums that our kids are forced to see, it says things like 85% and higher condoms are affected. Affected 85% or higher. One study even shows that condoms have a 0 failure rate. 0 failure rate. Well, if the CDC says that condoms only offer 85% protection against pregnancy, how on earth can they offer more protection than that for these STDs? They can't. So our children are being intentionally lied to. When you look at who should be giving these trainings, Planned Parenthood is the #1 sex educator in the state of California. That is the way it is. When you look at who writes this curriculum, Planned Parenthood is one of the leading researchers. Planned Parenthood teaching our children sex education is like Monsanto teaching nutrition or Philip Morris teaching respiratory health. It is utterly biased. And parents need to demand that there is no part of Planned Parenthood in the education of their children that is utterly biased. Thank you.